Be me, 23, working retail and coping harder than a shonen villain post-defeat. Meet this Femanon named Chloe on some gaming Discord server. She's into retro games, has this cute laugh when she talks about her Nintendo 64 collection. We start voice chatting every night for like 3 months straight. She lives 6 hours away in some small town that sounds made up. Tells me she's different from other girls because she plays GoldenEye and doesn't use TikTok. My autism level's rising because finally found someone who gets my obsession with CRT televisions. We're talking about meeting up for weeks, making all these plans. She says she wants to see me, but her car is broken and she can't afford to fix it. Being the emotional support simp that I am, I offer to drive down to her place. Oh my God, Jake, you'd really do that for me? You're so sweet. That was my first red flag, but my brain did the Windows XP error noise. Spend 2 weeks planning this whole weekend, book time off work, clean my car. She sends me her address, says to come Saturday morning around 10, wake up at 4 in the morning, shower, put on my least cringe outfit. Drive 6 hours through nothing but cornfields and gas stations that smell like regret. Texting her updates the whole way like some kind of travel blogger. 2 hours out, can't wait to see you. 1 hour left, getting excited. She's responding with heart emojis and me too messages. Finally pull up to this tiny house with a lawn that looks like it gave up on life. Knock on the door, heart pounding like I'm about to fight a boss. Door opens and it's Chloe, except she looks exactly like her photos but somehow disappointed. Hey Jake, she says, not even smiling. That feel when you realize you drove 6 hours to watch someone's soul leave their body. Come in, I guess. Walk into her living room. There's this awkward silence hanging in the air like a fart. She sits on the couch. I sit on the other end like we're strangers at a bus stop. So, how was the drive? She asks, checking her phone. Tell her about the drive, try to be funny about the weird gas station attendant who stared at me. She's not really listening, just scrolling through her phone with this dead expression. Jake, I need to tell you something. My anxiety level's going from 0 to school shooting in 0.2 seconds. I've been thinking about us, and I don't think this is going to work out. Stare at her for like 10 seconds, brain trying to process what just happened. Wait, what? You asked me to drive here. I know, but I realized while you were driving that I'm just not feeling it anymore. She's still looking at her phone while destroying my entire weekend. I think we should just be friends. My face when I drove 6 hours to get friend-zoned in her living room. Are you serious right now? I just drove 6 hours. I'm sorry, Jake. I thought I wanted this, but seeing you here just feels weird. She stands up like the conversation is over. You can stay for a bit if you want, but I have plans later. Sitting there trying to figure out if this is real life or some kind of social experiment. What kind of plans? I'm hanging out with this guy named Connor. We've been talking for a while. That feel when you realize you were the backup plan's backup plan. You've been talking to another guy while we were planning this? It's not like we were dating, Jake. We just talked online. She says this like I didn't just burn a tank of gas in my entire Saturday. So you made me drive here to break up with me in person? I thought it would be more mature than doing it over text. Staring at this girl who thinks emotional terrorism is character development. You could have called me. I wanted to see if there was any chemistry in person first. Apparently the chemistry was her realizing she'd rather date literally anyone else. Stand up and head toward the door because this is beyond saving, even for experience points. Where are you going? Home. This was a waste of time. Don't be dramatic, Jake. We can still be friends. Turn around and look at her one last time. Chloe, you made me drive 6 hours for a 30-second conversation. That's not friendship. That's psychological warfare. She actually rolls her eyes like I'm being unreasonable. Fine, whatever. Drive safe. Walk out to my car feeling like I just lost a boss fight. I didn't know I was playing. Sit in the driver's seat for 5 minutes trying to process what just happened. Text my roommate Dave. She broke up with me in 30 seconds. He responds, bro, that's a new speedrun record. Start the 6-hour drive home, stopping at the same gas stations, but now they smell like failure. Halfway home, she texts me. Hope you got home safe. Thanks for understanding. Thanks for understanding like I just witnessed a magic trick instead of emotional murder. Get home at midnight. Dave is playing some game on the couch. How did it go, champ? She had me drive 6 hours to tell me she's dating someone named Connor. That's rough, buddy. Want to play some Halo? Spend the rest of the night getting destroyed in multiplayer while questioning my life choices. Next day, check her social media like the masochist I am. She's already posted pictures with Connor at some local fair. Caption, best day ever with this amazing guy. They're holding hands and eating funnel cake like they're the main characters in a romantic comedy. Meanwhile, I'm over here looking like the NPC who delivers side quests nobody wants. Realize she probably planned this whole thing just to feel important. Made me drive 6 hours so she could have a dramatic breakup story to tell Connor. Yeah, this guy drove all the way here for me, and I had to let him down gently. My ancestors are watching in horror as I get used as someone's character. Development. 2 weeks later, she texts me out of nowhere. Hey Jake, how are you doing? Stare at the message for 10 minutes trying to figure out what fresh hell this is. I'm fine, Chloe. What do you want? Just wanted to check in. I feel bad about how things ended. She feels bad now that she's probably done using Connor for content. Things ended exactly how you wanted them to. Don't be like that. I genuinely care about you as a friend. As a friend, like I'm some kind of emotional support animal. Chloe, you made me waste 12 hours of driving and $100 in gas to hear you say you're not interested. I said I was sorry. Can't we move past this? She wants to move past it like it was some minor inconvenience instead of a war crime. Sure, we can move past it. Block me and we'll both move on. You don't have to be mean about it. I don't have to be mean, but she didn't have to be a sociopath either. Goodbye, Chloe. Block her on everything before she can respond with more gaslighting. Dave walks into my room while I'm deleting her contact. You good, man? Yeah, just taking out the trash. He nods like he understands the universal language of getting rid of toxic people. Spend the next month focusing on work and not driving anywhere for women. My coworker Emma asked me why I look dead inside. I drove 6 hours to get dumped in 30 seconds. That's the most efficient heartbreak I've ever heard of. At least someone appreciates the mathematical precision of my suffering. 3 months later, see Connor posting on social media about being single again. Apparently, Chloe's idea of mature communication didn't work out for him either. My face when karma comes faster than a Discord moderator banning someone for posting memes. But honestly, I dodged a bullet the size of a freight train. Still have trust issues about long-distance anything. Won't even order delivery from restaurants more than 2 miles away. Learn that some people will waste your time just to feel like they have options. Chloe turned me into a case study on why you should never drive more than 30 minutes for someone who can't even fake enthusiasm for 30 seconds. Now, when people ask me about online dating, I tell them the story of the 6-hour speedrun breakup. It's become my go-to conversation starter at parties. You think your dating life is bad? Let me tell you about the time I got dumped faster than a Windows 95 computer loading dial-up internet. People laugh, but I'm still emotionally recovering from that psychological boss fight. Dave says I should write a book about it. The 6-hour drive to nowhere, a guide to getting your heart broken efficiently. Might actually do it. Need to make some money back from that gas. Until then, I'm staying local and keeping my expectations lower than my credit score. Be me, 24, living in a decent apartment with my collection of vintage gaming consoles. Meet this Femanon named Grace at a coffee shop while she's reading some book about decluttering. She's got this whole aesthetic going. Beige sweater, no makeup. Looks like she shops exclusively at thrift stores. We start talking about minimalism and she's preaching about living with intention and removing excess. Sounds pretty based, actually. I've been thinking about getting rid of some clutter anyway. We exchange numbers and start dating. She comes over to my place for the first time, walks into my living room and just stops, staring at my entertainment center. Wow, Brian, you have a lot of stuff. Tell her it's mostly retro gaming gear. Each console has sentimental value. She nods, but I can see her mentally calculating how much space everything takes up. Have you ever considered how much happier you'd be with less? That feel when your new girlfriend is already planning to Marie Kondo your life over the next few weeks? She keeps dropping hints about my excessive materialism. Do you really need 3 different Nintendo systems? When's the last time you played that GameCube? Your apartment would look so much cleaner without all these cables everywhere. My autism level's rising because she's attacking my carefully organized gaming setup. Decide to humor her and start reading minimalism blogs. Watching YouTube videos about tiny living actually starts making sense. Maybe I don't need every single gaming magazine from 2003. Grace gets excited when I mention wanting to simplify my life. Oh my God, Brian, I'm so proud of you for embracing this journey. She starts coming over more often. each time suggesting things I could let go of. This lamp doesn't spark joy, does it? You could probably sell this desk and get something smaller. Do you really need a coffee table when you have a perfectly good floor? Slowly start getting rid of stuff. Feels good at first. Apartment does look cleaner. Grace celebrates each donation bag like it's a personal victory. See how much more peaceful your space feels? She's right. The minimalist aesthetic is growing on me. My face when I realize I'm being converted to a lifestyle I never asked for. A few months in, Grace suggests we move in together to maximize our minimalist potential. Her lease is up anyway and my place is bigger. Seems logical. She moves in with literally one suitcase and a houseplant. This is all I need, she says, setting down her single possession like it's a meditation. Meanwhile, I'm still downsizing my remaining stuff to make room for her energy. First week living together goes smoothly. We're like a minimalist power couple. She starts a blog about our intentional living journey and posts aesthetic photos of our empty counters, captions like less stuff, more life, and choosing experiences over possessions, getting tagged in, posts about how we're relationship goals for conscious couples that feel when you're being used as content for someone else's personal brand. Things start getting weird when she begins suggesting I sell my remaining valuable items. Brian, you haven't touched your PlayStation 2 in weeks. That vintage computer is just taking up space in the closet. We could probably get good money for your guitar since you never play it anymore. Tell her those items have sentimental value. Not everything is about money. But imagine how free you'd feel without the burden of owning things you don't use. She's using therapy speak to gaslight me into selling my childhood. Start noticing she's been researching prices for my stuff on eBay when she thinks I'm not looking. Catch her taking photos of my comic book collection for inspiration. Grace, why are you photographing my comics? Oh, I was just documenting our minimalism progress for the blog. Seems legit until I see her checking sold listings for first edition Spider-Man comics. My brain doing the Windows XP error noise as I realize what's happening. A few days later, come home from work and my Nintendo 64 is missing. Grace, where's my N64? Oh, I sold it. I got $300. Isn't that amazing? Standing in my living room staring at the empty space where my childhood used to be. You sold my Nintendo 64 without asking me? Brian, you said you wanted to embrace minimalism. I was helping you commit to the lifestyle. She's holding up cash like she just won the lottery with my nostalgia. That was my first gaming console, Grace. I've had it since I was 12. And now someone else can enjoy it instead of it just sitting there collecting dust. She says this like she's performed some kind of charitable act. You had no right to sell my stuff. It's our stuff now, remember? We're partners in this journey. Apparently moving in together meant she automatically got power of attorney over my possessions. Spend the next hour arguing while she explains how attachment to material things is holding me back. You're being really resistant to growth right now. That feel when your girlfriend turns into a life coach who charges in stolen property? Wake up the next morning and my vintage stereo system is gone. Grace, where's my stereo? I found a buyer who really appreciated quality audio equipment. She's counting money at the kitchen table like she's running a pawn shop. That stereo was worth way more than whatever you sold it for. Money isn't the point, Brian. The point is freedom from material attachment. She's lecturing me about spiritual enlightenment while literally profiting from my belongings. If money isn't the point, why do you keep counting it? I'm saving up for our future experiences together. Apparently, our future experiences require liquidating my entire past. Come home from work later that week and half my remaining stuff is gone. Books, decorative items, my coffee maker, even my decent kitchen knives. Grace is sitting on the floor surrounded by cash like a minimalist dragon. Surprise! I had a really productive day of decluttering. She says decluttering but means Grand Theft Auto with extra steps. Grace, this has to stop. You can't just sell my things without asking. But look how much cleaner everything looks. Doesn't this feel more intentional? The apartment does look cleaner, mainly because it looks like we got robbed. I want my stuff back. You can't get it back, Brian. That's the whole point of letting go. Staring at this woman who thinks she's a spiritual guru, but acts like a landlord evicting my belongings. How much money have you made selling my stuff? It's not about the money, remember? Just tell me the amount, Grace. Maybe $1,500, but that's not the point. She's made more money selling my possessions than I make in a month at my retail job. Where's the money going? I'm investing it in experiences. I booked us a weekend retreat about conscious living. My face when she's funding her spiritual journey with my material possessions. I never agreed to a retreat. That's because you're still too attached to physical comfort to see the bigger picture. She's gaslighting me with Buddhist philosophy while running a black market operation. Decide I need to hide my remaining valuables before she sells my organs for meditation crystals. Start keeping important stuff at my friend Alex's place. Dude, your girlfriend is literally robbing you, Alex says when I explain the situation. She says it's for my spiritual growth. That's what cult leaders say before they take your house. He's not wrong. Grace has definitely entered some kind of enlightened sociopath territory. A few days later, Grace notices my remaining gaming collection is gone. Brian, where are your PlayStation games? I donated them to charity. Technically true, since Alex's garage is a charitable cause for preserving my sanity. She looks suspicious, but can't argue with charitable giving without revealing her true nature. That's wonderful. I'm proud of you for taking initiative. That feel when you have to lie to your girlfriend about hiding your own possessions. Grace's blog is getting more popular. She's posting daily updates about our transformation. Captions like, when your partner finally embraces the minimalist mindset. Photos of our empty apartment with inspirational quotes about freedom from materialism. Meanwhile, I'm sleeping on a mattress on the floor because she sold my bed frame for better energy flow. My back is destroying itself while she talks about how grounded we are now. Come home one day and she's packing her single suitcase. Where are you going? I've learned everything I can from this experience. It's time for me to continue my journey. She's talking like she just completed a spiritual quest instead of running a sophisticated theft ring. What do you mean, continue your journey? I'm moving in with this guy named Connor who owns a tiny house. He's further along in his minimalism practice. Apparently, I was just the training wheels for her minimalist lifestyle. So you're leaving? Brian, you've been so resistant to true minimalism. I need to be with someone who shares my vision. She needs to be with someone who has more stuff to sell. What about all the money you made selling my things? That money helped me realize that true wealth comes from experiences, not possessions. She's keeping the money while preaching about how money doesn't matter. I want my money, Grace. You can't put a price on personal growth. Except she literally did put prices on my personal belongings. You stole my stuff and sold it. I liberated you from material attachment. You should be thanking me. Standing in my empty apartment watching her gaslight me one final time. Goodbye, Brian. I hope you can continue your minimalist journey without me. She leaves with her suitcase and my $1,500. Sit on my floor mattress looking around at my completely empty apartment. Call Alex to come help me move my stuff back. How did it go with the minimalist cult leader? She minimized herself right out of my life. At least you got your stuff back. Yeah, and I learned that some people's idea of spiritual growth is just stealing with extra steps. Spend the weekend moving my gaming collection back home. Apartment starts looking like a place where humans actually live again. Grace posts one final blog entry about releasing toxic relationships that hold you back from growth. Comments are full of people praising her for choosing her path. If only they knew her path was paved with other people's vintage gaming consoles. A few months later, see Connor posting on social media about being robbed. Apparently, Grace's minimalism journey continued with his electronics and furniture. My face when karma works faster than a dial-up internet connection. She's probably moved on to some other guy, preaching about intentional living while selling his childhood memories. Learn that minimalism is great until someone else decides what you should minimize. Now, when people ask about minimalist living, I tell them about the time my ex sold my life for spiritual enlightenment. Marie Kondo says to keep things that spark joy. My ex decided nothing I owned sparked joy except the money it could make. Alex says I should write a book about it. Minimalism for Dummies, How to Lose Everything While Your Girlfriend Finds Herself. Might actually do it. Need to make back that $1,500 somehow. Until then, I'm keeping my stuff and staying away from anyone who owns fewer possessions than a monk. BME 25, working IT support and basically invisible to the female species. Spend most nights playing old RPGs and browsing forums about retro computers. Coworker Ryan keeps telling me I need to get out there and meet someone. Dude, you're not going to find love in your apartment playing Final Fantasy VII for the 100th time. He's not wrong, but going outside requires social skills I don't possess. Decide to try this local board game meetup at a coffee shop downtown. Walk in feeling like an NPC who accidentally wandered into the main quest. Most people are already in groups, talking and laughing, like they know what they're doing. Sit at a corner table with some strategy game, hoping someone will ask to play. Notice this girl sitting alone at another table, reading a book about medieval history. She's got dark hair, glasses, wearing this oversized sweater that looks like it belongs to someone twice her size. Keeps glancing around the room, like she's expecting someone to tell her she doesn't belong. That feel when you recognize another social outcast in the wild. Spend 20 minutes debating whether to say something or just mind my own business. She gets up to leave, and I panic. Don't want to let this chance walk away. Excuse me, is that book about the Crusades? She turns around, looks genuinely surprised that someone talked to her. Oh, yeah, it's about medieval warfare tactics, actually. Her voice is soft, but she lights up talking about historical military strategy. I'm Nathan. Sorry for bothering you. I just don't meet many people who are into history. I'm Violet, and you're not bothering me. Most people think it's weird that I read this stuff. Spend the next hour talking about everything from Byzantine politics to the logistics of castle sieges. She's incredibly smart, knows more about medieval history than most professors. My autism level's stabilizing because finally found someone who gets excited about niche topics. I should probably head home, she says, checking the time on her phone. Would you maybe want to get coffee sometime? Not here, I mean, like a real coffee date. She stares at me for a few seconds like I just asked her to solve quantum physics. You want to go on a date with me? Yeah, if you're interested. I'm not really the type of girl guys usually ask out. Tell her she seems pretty great to me, which makes her smile for the first time all evening. Okay, sure, I'd like that. Exchange numbers and spend the walk home, wondering if this is actually happening. Text her the next day asking about weekend plans. She responds within minutes with a paragraph about a new historical documentary she wants to see. Would you want to watch it together? I have it downloaded on my laptop. This girl is speaking my language, suggesting indoor dates with educational content. Go over to her apartment Saturday afternoon, expecting something normal. Walk into what? Looks like a library exploded in a studio apartment. Books everywhere, stacked on every surface. Historical maps on the walls. Sorry about the mess. I know it's a lot. Tell her it's actually amazing, like a personal museum. She gets excited showing me her collection, pulls out first edition books about ancient Rome. Most people think I'm obsessed, but history is just so fascinating. That feel when you meet someone who apologizes for being passionate about things. We watch the documentary on her couch. She keeps pausing to explain context. Sorry, I know I talk too much about this stuff. Don't apologize, you're like a walking Wikipedia, but more interesting. She laughs and relaxes a bit, stops censoring herself. Order pizza and spend the evening talking about everything from Roman engineering to medieval cuisine. When I leave, she walks me to the door looking nervous again. Thanks for not thinking I'm weird, Nathan. Violet, you're the most interesting person I've met in years. She smiles, but I can tell she doesn't believe me. Start texting constantly over the next few weeks. She sends me random historical facts. Did you know that medieval people actually had better dental hygiene than most people think? The myth about people being dirty comes from Victorian misconceptions about the past. Love how her brain works. She sees patterns and connections everywhere. Ask her out for a second date. Suggest this medieval festival happening outside town. You want to go to that with me? It's pretty nerdy. Violet, I'm a computer programmer who collects vintage keyboards. Nerdy is my default setting. That Saturday, pick her up and she's wearing this dress that looks vaguely medieval. Is this too much? I made it based on 14th century patterns. She made her own historically accurate dress because she's basically perfect. Spend the day at the festival watching blacksmith demonstrations and eating turkey legs. She knows more about medieval crafts than the actual reenactors. Actually, that chainmail technique is from the wrong century for this time period. Vendors start asking her questions because she clearly knows her stuff. My face when my date becomes the unofficial historical consultant for a medieval festival. On the drive home, she's glowing with happiness. I've never had someone want to do nerdy stuff with me before. What do you mean? Most people I've tried to date think my interests are too weird or boring. Those people are idiots, Violet. She goes quiet for a minute, then says something that breaks my heart. I kind of gave up on dating a while ago. Figured I was too strange for anyone to like. You're not strange, you're just specific. There's a difference. She starts crying a little, pulls over to compose herself. Sorry, I'm not used to people being nice to me. Sit in the car talking about how she's been convinced she's undateable. I spend most of my time alone reading because it's easier than being rejected. Tell her about my own social anxiety, how I thought I was destined to be alone too. Maybe we can be weird together, I say, which makes her laugh. I'd like that a lot, Nathan. Third date, she invites me over to cook dinner using medieval recipes. Shows up at the grocery store with a handwritten list of historically accurate ingredients. I researched what a 13th century feast would actually look like. Spend the evening cooking weird medieval dishes and laughing when half of them turn out terrible. Apparently medieval people had different taste buds than us. Or maybe they were just really hungry all the time. Sitting on her couch after dinner, she curls up next to me with a book. Is this okay? I'm not really sure how dating works. Tell her she's doing perfectly. Put my arm around her. She relaxes into me like she's been waiting her whole life for someone to hold her. Nathan? Yeah? I really like you, like more than I thought I could like anyone. I really like you too, Violet. She looks up at me with these eyes that are afraid to hope. Even though I'm weird and talk too much about dead people, especially because of that. Kiss her for the first time and she melts like she's never been kissed before. Was that okay? She asks afterward. That was perfect. A few months later, we're basically inseparable. She helps me organize my vintage computer collection using proper archival methods. I help her set up a blog about historical accuracy in movies and TV shows. You really think people would want to read my thoughts about medieval weapons? Violet, you corrected a History Channel documentary via email and they thanked you. Her blog starts getting popular with history nerds and reenactment communities. She gets invited to speak at conventions about medieval life. Watching her give presentations, confident and passionate, makes me so proud. 2 years ago, I was hiding in my apartment. Now I'm teaching workshops. You were never hiding. You were just waiting for the right audience. My face when the girl who thought she was undateable becomes a minor celebrity in history circles. Year and a half in, we move in together, combine our book collections, and turn the spare room into a library. She sets up a corner for my vintage computers, calls it the Modern Antiquities section. It's like we're curating a museum of our interests. Mornings involve her reading historical texts while I debug code. Evenings involve us watching documentaries and her fact-checking everything. Actually, that armor design wouldn't have been used until 50 years later. How do you even know that? I read a lot. That feel when you find someone whose brain works the same way yours does. She starts getting book deals to write about medieval history for general audiences. Publishers want me to write a book about what medieval life was actually like. Of course they do. You're basically the medieval mythbuster. Helps her with the proposal. She's terrified but excited. What if people think it's boring? Violet, you made a TikTok about medieval toilets that got 2 million views. Her book comes out and becomes a surprise bestseller. How to Live Like a Medieval Person, Separating Fact from Fantasy. She does interviews and book tours, always mentions how I believed in her project. None of this would have happened if my boyfriend hadn't convinced me I wasn't weird. That feel when your girlfriend credits you with helping her realize her dreams. 2 years in, take her back to the coffee shop where we met. Remember when you thought you were too weird for anyone to date? I was so wrong about that. No, you were just waiting for the right weirdo. Pull out a ring I've been carrying for weeks. Violet, will you marry me and be weird with me forever? She starts crying immediately, drops her book. Are you serious? Dead serious. I want to spend the rest of my life listening to you explain historical inaccuracies. Yes, obviously yes, you beautiful nerd. Entire coffee shop starts clapping, because apparently we're that couple now. I can't believe someone wants to marry the weird history girl. I can't believe I get to marry the smartest, most passionate person I've ever met. Planning a medieval-themed wedding, because of course we are. She designs our costumes based on 14th century noble attire. Is it too much to have a historically accurate wedding feast? Violet, we're getting married in a castle. Nothing is too much. Wedding day, she walks down the aisle looking like a medieval princess. Vows include promises to share knowledge, support passions, and fact-check each other with love. Nathan made me believe I deserve to be loved for who I am, not despite who I am. Violet showed me that being passionate about things isn't weird, it's beautiful. Reception involves medieval music and historically accurate dancing. Best wedding ever, Ryan says, wearing the medieval costume we made him rent. Honeymoon involves touring actual medieval sites across Europe. She gives me private historical tours of every castle and cathedral. This is literally the perfect honeymoon. Getting paid to travel with my favorite historian? Yeah, I won the lottery. That feel when you marry your best friend, who also happens to be your personal encyclopedia. 5 years later, she's a famous historical consultant for movies and TV shows. I work remotely managing databases for her growing media company. We're like the nerdiest power couple in history. Medieval history specifically. She still gets excited about random historical facts, still apologizes for talking too much. Violet, you've published 3 best-selling books. Stop apologizing for being smart. Sorry, old habits die hard. Don't be sorry for being you. Being you is what made me fall in love with you. Evenings still involve us reading together on the couch, her explaining things I don't understand. Did you know that medieval people actually invented the concept of romantic love? Is that why you're so good at it? She laughs and kisses me, still gets flustered when I flirt. I love you too, you historically accurate dork. That feel when you realize the girl who thought she was too weird for love became the love of your life. Sometimes I think about that lonely girl reading in the coffee shop, how she thought she'd spend forever alone because she cared too much about dead people. Now she's internationally recognized for her expertise and married to someone who thinks she's perfect. Moral of the story, sometimes the weird girl reading alone in the corner is actually your soulmate. You just have to be brave enough to ask about her book.